Now, what do we expect when we get through trials? We expect to be blessed, blessed, blessed. But is that enough? Everyone understands the value of exercise. But at the end of a good workout, I don't know about you, the older I get, the worse it gets. At the end of the day on the roofing crew, I'm stiff and sore. My muscles are screaming that I don't work like I used to. When you come through a trial, at the end of that trial, you might be stiff, you might be sore, you might feel like you've been beat up. The truth is, there's a saying in the physical therapy area: no pain, no gain. Without pain, we don't strengthen our muscles. Without use, our muscles become weaker and not stronger. Without trials, our lives remain weak. Trials strengthen us. It makes us more capable and better Christians and better individuals. God promises us a crown. Literal or figurative, I do not know. But I want you to consider, in the Bible, there are 5 crowns in the New Testament. There are 5 of them listed in the Scriptures, given for accomplishments. I want you to think about that. James, right here in verse 12, blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. That's one. We're going to look at all 5 of these crowns very quickly. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, there is an imperishable crown. The Apostle Paul speaks of an imperishable crown as he draws a parallel between an athletic competition and the Christian's walk with God. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24. Read this very quickly with me. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath or crown, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified or a castaway. Paul is working to receive an imperishable crown, a crown of rejoicing. Paul writes about this crown in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. And again, very quickly, so that we have a good concept of what Paul is talking about, let's go back here to 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 17. Here the Apostle Paul says this: but since we were torn away from you, brothers, for a short time, in person, not in heart, we endeavor the more eagerly and with great desire to see you face to face. Because we wanted to come to you, I, Paul, again and again, but Satan hindered us. For what is our hope, or joy, or crown of boasting? Now, the English Standard Version says crown of boasting. Most translations say it's a crown of rejoicing. Before our Lord at his coming, is it not you? For you are our glory and our joy. Paul says Christians, the brethren, are his crown of rejoicing. Next, there's a crown of righteousness. The Apostle Paul, when he is about to be beheaded, to be killed for Christ. Now, you can imagine if we're talking about trials. The Apostle Paul is about to be killed for Christ. And he writes about a crown to his beloved apprentice, Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Paul says, I've fought a good fight, I've finished my race, I've kept the faith. Henceforth is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not to me only, but to all who have loved his appearing. The crown of glory. Peter, 1 Peter chapter 5, writes about this crown of glory. 1 Peter chapter 5 and in verse 1, Peter says, So I exhort the elders among you as a fellow elder, a witness to the sufferings of Christ, as a partaker in the glory that is going to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you. Exercise oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you. Not for shameful gain, but eagerly. Not domineering over those who are in your charge, but being an example to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive an unfading crown of glory. This is a crown given for the elders of a local body. Elders who have shepherded the flock of God as good shepherds. A crown of glory. And again, the crown of life mentioned in James is also mentioned in the book of Revelation chapter 2 and verse 10. John in the book of Revelation 2 and verse 10 says, Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So we have an imperishable crown, a rejoicing crown, a crown of righteousness, a crown of glory, and a crown of life. Figurative or literal, I still am on the fence. Nevertheless, there are rewards for those who overcome. Our closing verse this morning, as we think about our trials and tribulations and overcoming those things, because that's the whole point of it, is overcoming trials makes us better people. Our closing verse is Romans chapter 8. And in verse 18, the Apostle Paul says, For I consider that the suffering of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. The sufferings of today are not worth comparing. There's no comparison to what we may suffer in this life, what is going to be tomorrow. There is no comparing the suffering of this life to what is going to be in eternity, forever. John in the book of Revelation says he's going to wipe away all tears. There'll be no more sorrow nor crying, for the things are passed away. I want to encourage you to take out your red songbook again this time.